All right, let's talk about a word you hear all the time, the cloud. We all use it, every single day. But what is it really? Let's dive in and figure out where our digital lives actually live.
You know, when you save a photo or stream a movie, it just feels like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. Your data is physically sitting on a computer somewhere. The real question is, whose computer is it? And how does this whole system work?
So to really get why the cloud is such a big deal, we have to rewind a bit. We got to look back at how things used to be done in the world of traditional computing.
The big difference is actually pretty simple. Traditionally, everything, your data, your programs, it all lived right there with you on your physical hard drive or on a server in your office. You had to physically be there to use it. The cloud just completely flipped that idea on its head. Now, all those same services are delivered over the internet from these massive data centers that someone else owns and manages.
And yeah, the problems with the old way were pretty glaring. It was super expensive to maintain. It was a nightmare to upgrade if, say, your website suddenly got popular. And working from a coffee shop? Forget about it. This total lack of flexibility is the exact reason the world was crying out for something new.
So how in the world did we get from that clunky, restrictive server in a closet to the massive global cloud we have today? Well, it definitely didn't happen overnight. It was more of an evolution, really. A series of clever ideas, each one building on the last. The first big leap forward was something called cluster computing. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to build one giant, super expensive computer, why not just link a whole bunch of identical, cheaper machines together? You could get them to act as one single incredibly powerful system. Think of it like a rowing team, a bunch of rowers all pulling their oars in perfect sync to make the boat go way faster.
But there's always a but, right? There was a huge flaw in this plan. In a basic cluster, you had one machine, the cluster head, that was the boss, handing out all the jobs. Well, what happens if that one boss computer goes down? The whole system can just grind to a halt. It created what's called a single point of failure, a real Achilles heel.
And the solution to that problem was grid computing. This took the idea of linking computers but threw out the need for a central boss. It introduced decentralization. Now you could connect all different kinds of computers from all over the planet with no single machine in charge. By making every computer appear, you get rid of that single point of failure. Problem solved.
Okay, so now we've got the raw power from clusters and the flexible, decentralized model from grids. The next logical step was to package all this distributed power up and sell it as a service. You know, kind of like your power company sells you electricity. And that's the core idea behind utility computing.
And this, right here, is the big aha moment. The idea that truly changed everything was treating computing like utility. I mean, think about it. You don't build a power plant in your backyard, right? You just plug your lamp into the wall and pay for what you use. So why couldn't we do the exact same thing with computing power? So let's just trace this whole journey, right? You can see here we started with clusters, all owned by one organization, all managed from one central point. Then grids blew that up with multiple owners in decentralized management. And the cloud? It took the best of both worlds. You get the simplicity of single ownership, but the reliability of decentralized management. And then it added the real game changer, on-demand resources. You get exactly the power you need right when you need it.
All right, we've got the how down. Now let's talk about the where. Because, you know, not all clouds are created equal. The biggest difference really comes down to who gets to use them.
When you hear the cloud, this is probably what you're picturing. A public cloud. It's owned by a gigantic company like Amazon, Google, or Microsoft, and basically anyone with a credit card can hop on and start using their services. It's a massive, shared resource for the public.
And then you've got the complete opposite, a private cloud. This is infrastructure that's built and operated for just one single organization. You know, think of a big bank or a government agency that needs absolute control and top-tier security over their data. It's like their own personal, walled-off section of the cloud.
So you see the trade-off here, right? It all boils down to what you need. Do you want something cheap and easy where the provider takes care of all the headaches? That's the public cloud. Or do you need total control and airtight security, even if it's going to cost you more? Well, that's a private cloud.
And hey, just so you know, there are a couple other flavors out there too. You've got the community cloud, which is shared by a few different organizations that have something in common, like maybe a group of universities. And then there's the hybrid cloud, which lets you mix and match. You can keep your really sensitive stuff on a private cloud, but use the public cloud for everything else.
So we've seen the whole evolution. We've seen the different types. But what does it all really mean in practice? Why did this model completely take over the tech world? Let's break down the big pros and the cons.
I mean, the upsides are huge.
First, the cost. You only pay for what you actually use, which can save a ton of money. If your app goes viral overnight, you can scale up your capacity instantly. No need to go out and buy new servers. You also get access to security features that are frankly world-class. And you can get new ideas up and running in minutes, not months. It's incredibly fast.
But of course, it's not all perfect. You are, at the end of the day, trusting another company with your most sensitive data. And moving all your stuff from one cloud provider to another, it can be an absolute nightmare, a problem people call data lock-in. And let's not forget, if your provider has a major outage, well, you're pretty much helpless until they fix it.
And that really brings us to the final and most important question. We've gained so much convenience, so much speed, so much power. But in exchange for all that, we've basically handed over the keys to our entire digital world to just a handful of massive companies. It is the central trade-off of our modern internet. There's no easy answer here, but it's something worth thinking about every single time you click Save. Thanks for joining this explainer.